Well, another E3 has come and gone, adding a slew of new games to the hype wagon, and giving us a year's worth of sad naked Norman Reedus memes. So now that we're all nursing our E3 hangovers, it's time to start breaking down gaming's big week and figuring out what this year's convention means for the industry. For this, we're going to focus on the conferences of E3. Press conferences have always been the main attraction of E3. It's where new games are announced and Reggies are born. A good conference can put a company on the map, while a bad one can turn them into a laughingstock. This year, we got 5 big conferences showcasing what to expect from gaming in 2016 and beyond. So how did Sony, Microsoft, and the rest fare this year? Here's our power rankings. It wouldn't be fair to call EA's opening conference a complete disaster, but good lord, it was hard to watch. And let's be fair to the eater of game studios. They have a tough job. EA publishes a gigantic amount of content, grabbing a massive but diverse audience. Because of that, their conferences inevitably can't keep everyone engaged for a full hour. But this year was a new low for EA, made worse by a very lukewarm crowd. There were a lot of issues with EA's big hour. Madden and FIFA took up a tremendous amount of stage time, with celebrity cameos and video packages bloating their section. Sadly, that amount of attention wasn't devoted to EA's more exciting games like Mass Effect Andromeda, which only appeared in the form of a glorified DVD featurette. Even worse, EA devoted a huge gap to a slew of Star Wars games, which don't actually exist yet. Instead, they just announced developers, gave vague conceptual pitches, and showed a making of video. Battlefield 1 got the grand finale slot, but only got showed off in a form of a trailer for a trailer followed by said trailer. Considering how many games EA produces, their conference felt stuffed with filler. Perhaps it was a sign that EA is starting to lose its ironclad grip on the industry as new publishers rise to prominence. Or maybe they just don't need E3 to be successful. Whatever the reason, EA didn't leave us with a lot to be excited about, other than Titanfall 2. At least their new Originals initiative and their charitable Play to Give campaign made them seem less of an evil megacorporation than usual. We give EA's conference a D+. Ubisoft has made a name for itself on the E3 stage over the last few years by turning its conference into a foul-mouthed party. Ubisoft's philosophy seems to be, games are fun, we have a lot of games, let's have a lot of fun. But this year, Ubisoft may have gotten a little cocky, setting aside a full 2 hours for their conference, or a small eternity in E3 time. Those hours brought a few hits, but just as many misses. Eagle Flight and Star Trek Bridge Crew did little to convince us that Ubisoft has great ideas for VR, while their big new IP Steep made for a head-scratching, albeit pretty show closer. On the flip side, Watch Dogs 2 made an impressive showing, Ghost Recon Wildlands generated interest with an intriguing demo, and South Park The Fractured But Whole left the attendees in stitches. Ubisoft has been having a rough PR year, with The Division's mountain of bugs keeping them busy. This conference was their chance to take focus off of that nightmare and put it back on the content. In some ways, they succeeded, but the monolith 2 hours often made them look like they were treading water, as an entire swath of time was devoted to the Assassin's Creed movie, complete with awkward producer interview and the kind of making-of featurette you'd see if you got to the movie theater too early. Still, Ubisoft gets points for style and entertainment, as Aisha Tyler once again made a great MC. Hats off to Ubisoft's classy Orlando tribute too. Let's just hope they cut down on the fluff next year. We give Ubisoft's conference a C+. Microsoft looked to make a big statement this year, declaring that they were at the forefront of gaming technology. Their announcement that Xbox One games would be playable on Windows 10 is a genuine game changer for consoles. The Xbox Scorpio also made quite an impact with its teraflops and whatchamacallit beep boop bop oops. We're being cheeky, but it's actually pretty impressive. But none of that means anything if the games aren't good. Fortunately, Microsoft had that front covered. Well, for the most part. Most of the show's best games popped up on everyone else's stage, leaving Microsoft with a lineup of good but less talked about titles. Dead Rising 4 got overshadowed by Sony's Days Gone, and even their Witcher card game Gwent had competition from Bethesda's own card game. So Microsoft's conference landed soft amongst its peers, with big games like Halo Wars 2 and ReCore feeling comparatively minor. But there was plenty to get excited about for Xbox One owners, from the epic Scalebound to the positively demented We Happy Few. Oh, and if you feel like spending $200 on a gaudy Gears of War controller, there was that too. The main question Microsoft's conference left us with, however, was, do we even need to own an Xbox anymore? Now that its big games will be playable on PC, why bother buying an upgraded or slim Xbox? That question awkwardly loomed over the 90 minutes, leaving us a little puzzled by Microsoft's role in the home console market moving forward, especially as Sony once again eclipsed their spotlight. We give Microsoft's conference a B. Speaking of Sony, let's break down their incredibly tight hour of live orchestration and announcements. Sony's conference was the last during the Sunday to Monday span, so one had to wonder if they'd be able to keep the excitement up. As soon as Kratos came on screen, it was clear that they could. The crowd went berserk as Sony kicked out a jaw-dropping demos for games like God of War to Horizon Zero Dawn. Plus, major surprises like Resident Evil 7 and Insomniac's Spider-Man game dominated E3 discussion all week. We could rave about Sony's knack for pacing and reveals all day, but let's get down to a few nitpicks instead. Outside of Resident Evil, their VR block fell a little flat, not making the best case for PSVR. On top of that, they spent too little time on a few big games, leaving us with more questions than answers. For example, Hideo Kojima's big Death Stranding reveal didn't tell us a single thing about the game, other than the fact that it features a naked Norman Reedus. If we hadn't already known that Kojima was developing a game for Sony, that might have been fine, but it felt too vague to be terribly exciting. Sony was the only company this year who could have benefited from a longer conference, giving us more information on its games. But again, we're really just nitpicking. PS4 owners are in for a great next few years if Sony can actually get these games out on schedule. We give Sony's press conference a B+. Surprisingly, E3's best conference might have come from the smallest company. Bethesda may not have had celebrity appearances or a flashy stage, but they excelled when it came to what's really important: games. And maybe even more importantly, the gamer. Whether you're already a Bethesda fan or you've never played a game from them, their conference set out to get you excited about their games. That meant great teases for new games like Quake Champions and Prey, and exciting updates to their existing library, inviting new players into the water. This all accumulated in a stunning half-hour presentation of Dishonored 2, which may have been the most exciting game any conference showcased this year. Sure, Bethesda didn't show up dozens of games like Sony, but the less is more model worked to their advantage, delivering all killer, no filler. Bethesda made their mark on E3, proving that they're one of the most exciting companies in gaming today. Plus, their remastered Skyrim reveal was just the cherry on top. Get ready for arrow to the knee jokes all over again. We give Bethesda's press conference an A-. Which E3 conference did you love this year? Who had the best games? Do you want EA's conference to just be a full hour of FIFA next year? Let us know in the comments. Now excuse us while we start counting down the days until next E3. We literally have nothing better else to do with our lives.